What's up, Wizards? It's Dev. SBMTG, magic things. You know the whole spiel by now, but today we're going to bring you some very, very dank jank. And I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way. Got a whole thing to say at the beginning of the video. I'm going to reserve some of the gameplays and stuff this season to play with and pay homage to some cards that really didn't get enough play, just criminally undervalued, under-experimented with cards before they rotate, because it's our last chance to play with them and try some fun stuff. And so today we're going to start that sort of experiment with the perfect subject, and that's Lotleth Giant. A lot of casual players love this card, right? It's just a perfect build-around reanimation target. A little bit expensive to cast on its own, but if you can somehow snag it out of your graveyard, then you can deal a bunch of damage to your opponent, like all at one time, and that's what we're going to try to do today. There are a few ways, obviously, you could build your Lotleth Giant deck. I've seen people play, like, Offspring's Revenge. I've seen people do that, and you play Offspring's Revenge sometimes with cycling creatures, right? You just throw a bunch of creatures in your yard by cycling, then play Offspring's Revenge, and then you get your Lotleth Giant as a 1/1 eventually, but it's going to end up doing a bunch of damage. That deck is bad. That deck is very, very bad. I've also seen the green-black deck that plays Glowspore Shaman and some other stuff. I think the best way to do that would just be to hit mill and then green-black gold. Yeah. See, Glowspore Shaman, Skull Prophet, pretty good because it can help you just naturally cast a Lotleth Giant or anything else that's big. Acolyte of Affliction is actually kind of really interesting in some ways because it can get back other permanents that you might want out of your yard. You can also loop them if you've got multiples of them. And milling, obviously, is what's cool about this. But there's also Death's Oasis if you wanted to go Abzan. There's some interesting things you could do with this. And obviously, this gains you, like, 7 life if you sack it with a Lotleth Giant in play. So that's kind of cool, but I mostly just wanted to stay mono black here because, honestly, especially if you're trying to play a bunch of creatures, 2-color mana bases just aren't very good right now. They're not super consistent. And in this deck, we're milling. I don't want to mill a bunch of green sources into the yard, and I especially don't want to need a green source by turn 2 for, Glowspore Shaman. So I wanted to keep it mono black and keep the mana as consistent as possible here. Now that means that we don't have as many like milly things, but we still do have Mire Triton. We've got Gorging Vulture, which is actually really good. This is a flying blocker, which matters so much. We've also got Timurrit Calls the Dead, which mills a lot of cards, but I have considered cutting this down to 3 copies. Very often, if we want a creature, a zombie out of it, which we do most of the time, just to kind of keep our board presence up, extend the game, have blockers, all that stuff. But if we want to keep, get a zombie out of it, we have to remove a creature from our yard. And sometimes that can be a problem if we're trying to build up to a big Lotleth Giant. So I've been thinking about cutting it down to 3, but again, we're not playing the green in the deck, so we don't have as many things that mill ourselves. So it's nice to have 4 copies of Timurrit Calls the Dead. It's just one of the most potent mill things in the entire deck because it mills us a total of 6 cards, and that's really important. Sometimes you'll be able to get copies of Timurrit Calls the Dead with Timurrit Calls the Dead and just make zombies out of them, which is probably the best thing you can do with Timurrit Calls the Dead in this deck. Just leave your creatures undisturbed in the yard because you need as many of them as possible. There is a lot that I need to talk about, I guess, before we get into the deck, but I'm going to try to keep it as brief as possible. I've already been talking for quite a while, but we've got stuff like Plague Crafter, which puts itself in the yard. We've got Blacklance Paragon, which is the newest addition to the deck. I was playing 4 copies of Obosh to just try and make the Lotleth Giant as big as possible because, obviously Obosh doubles the damage off of Lotleth Giant. And that hit, that does still happen on occasion. But I wanted another 2-drop. I wanted 14 1- and 2-drop plays so we could have some early game. And extending it from 12 to 14 2-drops, 14 1- and 2-drop plays really did help. Blacklance Paragon also, just like Plague Crafter, is a form of removal, which is important for the deck. You can just flash it in on turn 2, block your opponent's creature, gain some life, and put a creature in the yard. All of that is really, really good for this deck. Liliana's Steward. God, I got a lot to say about the 1-drops here. Liliana's Steward I felt was the best of the 1-drop creatures because it puts itself in the yard. It's guaranteed to put a creature in the yard. And you can't say that about Barrier of Bones, which can eventually put itself in the yard through blocking or whatever, but it doesn't immediately do it. And it does Surveil, but that doesn't always put a creature in the yard. I also wanted to play Eye Collector, but Eye Collector, same thing, it can die in combat. It's a flying blocker. Again, that's important. So it will put a creature in the yard eventually, but it won't always put a creature in the yard when it hits for combat damage. Even though it looks like it could, but it does not quite. There are other things like Gutterbones and Knight of the Ebon Legion. Obviously, these cards, just because they're very powerful, 1-drops, but I didn't feel like they were particularly synergistic. And then finally Pilfering Imp, which is very similar to Liliana's Steward, but costs more, mana to actually get the ability going. You get to choose what they discard, which is obviously really important, but we don't have all the mana in the world, and Liliana's Steward can just put itself in the yard for literally free, for nothing. So I felt like that was ultimately, end of the day, the best 1-drop to play. That's what we ended up on, but there's a lot to talk about in terms of the 1-drops in the deck. I'm also playing Fiend Artisan, which is the most expensive card in the deck. It's like $13 or $14 right now, which is a lot, and often you don't even use it. To be honest, if you're looking to reanimate a big creature out of your yard, it's almost always going to be a Lotleth Giant. But sometimes, if you don't have Giant yet, you'll reanimate like an 8/8 Fiend Artisan, and that'll be good enough. There's also times where if you have enough mana, the game extends long enough, you can theoretically go get a Lotleth Giant or an Obosh out of your deck by sacking a creature and just paying mana to Fiend Artisan. It's also a huge threat, but honestly, I think that a better card in this slot might be just Priests of Forgotten Gods. But it might not even have to be in this slot. Maybe go down to 2 Fiend Artisan, cut the Obosh entirely, maybe even cut a copy of Timurit Calls the Dead, and just play 4 copies of Priest. If you can fit in another 1-drop, and just like 2 copies of another 1-drop, I think that might work as well. You just want to have as much board presence to block with and put creatures in the yard as early as possible. But Priests of Forgotten Gods would aid us by not only being removal that we do kind of need in this deck, but also putting creatures in the yard. Problem is, I don't want to sacrifice too many of these creatures unless I'm sacrificing them to an ability, like Liliana's Steward to its own ability, or another creature to Fiend Artisan's ability to go search something else up, right? So, for the most part, I'm not sure if Priest is the right 2-drop, but it might be the better 2-drop, or again, maybe go down to 2 Fiend Artisan, cut some other cards, and put in 4 copies of Priest. So I do think the deck needs a little bit more removal, but this is the build we're going to roll with today in the arena and see if we can hit with some big old Lotleth Giant swings. But obviously the deck can just aggro your opponent out too. It establishes a board presence really well, and it stays in the game nicely too, because there's a fair amount of life gain between Black Lance Paragon, Mire Triton, Gorging Vulture. Timurit Calls the Dead will eventually gain life. There's just again a fair amount of life gain in this deck, so we'll see how the games go, but mostly we're looking for just like giant drills with Lotleth Giant. But again, we'll see how things go in the arena. Right, we got one up against the fabulous Shrimp Tail 29. Let's see what they got in store. They do get to go first. We have at least a decent hand. I don't love starting with Lotleth Giant in our hand, but at least it's playable. We can get a couple of cards out of their hand with Steward, or maybe block early if they're playing aggro, which it doesn't look like they're doing. I do like that about Steward too. I didn't really talk about that at the beginning, but it can block like Fervent Champions and stuff in the early game, and that can be important. And Scorch Spitters and other like aggro-y creatures. Trade with 2/1s. So there's kind of a lot to like about Steward. Essence Symbiote, it's a mutate deck, which actually kind of worries me. I don't like decks that gain life because it makes the Lotleth Giant thing a lot less of a reality. But what we're going to do here is no attacks. I'm going to make them discard. See what we get out of their hand here. And then try to surprise them with Paragon next turn. Maybe they'll mutate a Gym Razor or something. We'll end up even on life and we'll kill their mutate creature. That'd be nice. They might go Great Horn here. Same difference. Either way, I'm pretty sure they'll swing into us. Alright. Overgrown Tomb untapped. They don't mutate anything. That's very interesting. I think I'm still going to go ahead and do this here, and if they play another creature, we can just Plague Crafter it off the board. So let's get rid of the Symbiote, gain a little bit of life. I play a Grim Dancer. That is a really cool mutate target. I'll give you that. We get a Plague Crafter here. It's cool that we already had one. So we are putting a bunch of creatures in our yard. We do need some sort of lands so we can actually get to Cauldron's Gift. A card that I think I completely skipped over. This is what we're using to get the Lotleth Giant out of our yard, because it mills. It mills for, and then we can get Lotleth Giant, which just makes the Giant look way bigger. So. Well, they mutate here. Luckily, Plague Crafter is very good against mutate, so let's just keep playing out Plague Crafters here. Our opponent has 1 card left in their hand. We did get a land, and it's the land we wanted, honestly. Let's just Steward. And then they won't be able to keep, unless they play out their hand this turn. They're going to eliminate. Maybe that was the card they had in their hand before, or maybe not. Interesting. We didn't get a land, but we did get a Mire Triton, which I'll take. I'll take that right now. We need to do some milling because we haven't really done any milling. We do have a fair amount of creatures in our yard, though, for this Lotleth Giant. 7. Not bad. Dirge Bat will come down. Well, that's cool. I guess we can go ahead and get this Cauldron's Gift going. Really wish we'd have put a Lotleth Giant in our yard there. But we don't. I guess we'll get Fiend Artisan. We could just get Plague Crafter and kill this Dirge Bat, which I actually think is not a terrible play. Because, I wonder what that one card in their hand is. They still have a card, right? Yeah, they still have a card. I am going to get Plague Crafter. I know that I'm probably going to get some flack for that, but I'd rather have a 4-power Plague Crafter than play a 9-power Fiend Artisan and just get it mutated onto Dirge Bat and killed next turn. I'd rather play safely. And we're going to get to maybe just play this Lotleth Giant if we draw lands. If we don't draw lands, I'll be happy. We'll be drawing gas. They're going to Sterix. Ah, see? That would have been terrifying. That would have been so bad. Well, we can't swing with Crafter this turn. Hopefully they don't draw a mutate creature. Draw blank. Draw blank. They did. They blanked this turn, so just throw in bricks. I guess we can trade here. Which is fine with me. If we get another Lotleth Giant, that's hilarious. I'm just going to swing in with Crafter. Put him at 14. I will take this damage and draw these cards. We got life to spare. Hey, we get a land. We need one more, y'all. We need one more. We might be able to, well, I was going to say we might be able to win, but they can just block with Grazer now. Hey, we got it. Ooh, we got it. They don't block. Oh, that's it, son. All right. Cool. Let's go ahead and Giant, y'all. Pretty sure that's the game. Bang. All right. Well, that first game went pretty freaking good, I would say. They really should have blocked with that Grazer. All right, opponent goes first here again, up against Anti-Nick999. What did Nick ever do to you? Let's see. I don't mind this hand, I guess. Fiend Artisan is going to kind of suck on turn 2, but I guess we can Gorging Vulture to power it up on turn 3, and then maybe Gorging Vulture again on turn 4. So, we'll see what we can do. Maybe your opponent's playing aggro. That might be nice. We'll gain some life off of the Vultures and stuff. We'll just have to see, and we'll have to wait and see, because our opponent is making a very tough decision right now when it comes to whether or not they want to keep their hand, apparently. It's so hard. It's so hard. There we go. We got it. We done did it. They kept their hand. Far from a snap keep. Lightning Bolt sleeves, but leads on Temple of Silence. Interesting. We scry to the top when we draw land on our first turn, so let's say go Genesis here. See what kind of Cruel Celebrant game our opponent's playing. Alright, untap Blood Crypt, Dreadhorde Arcanist. Alright. Alright, I see you. I see you. I acknowledge you and respect you. Mardu Arcanist. I feel like I played against this deck the other day off camera, but I don't remember what it does. It's Feather. Okay, it's a Feather deck. That's fun. That's so fun. What a fun deck. Alright, gets in with Arcanist and no blocks. I guess I'll Plague Crafter, and I'll just get rid of the Dreadhorde Arcanist. We'll start swinging in. I guess we can Gorging Vulture to play a blocker. That's something. Overall, I don't love the idea of playing against Feather. I really don't. I'm going to sack the Plague Crafter here. Hopefully the Fiend Artisan will get swole next turn. No attacks. Although sometimes you play Gorging Vulture, you get like 3 lands and a Timurak calls it dead, and you just feel so bad. But we'll see. Opponent has open mana and a Feather out. Ooh, untapped Blood Crypt because 3 mana wasn't enough. Seraph of the Scales. I didn't expect that. Oh, it's an angel. Is this an Angel's deck of some kind? You get an angel and an angel, right? Yeah. I wonder if this is, where are you? You're a zombie wizard? I wonder if this is Kalia. If this is a Kalia deck, that'll be awesome. Alright, so Gorging Vulture. At least we have a blocker. Gain some life, not a whole lot. And then we can Steward here. Not great. I wonder if trading would be a good idea right now. Next turn we have 5 lands, so we could always search up a 4-drop, of which we have none. We could search up another Gorging Vulture, but we already have one. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for it. Just give us the 3 damage. Just give it to us. You don't want to block. It's fine. You know, I mean, it's cool. Although, if they do block, I think I'll take the trade, too. Like, that's just it. Is that I'm not going to be blocking with Fiend Artisan next turn anyway, so, like, I might as well try and get the 3 damage, and if they trade Seraph, that's actually a decent trade. Alright, opponent, what you got? You gonna play Kalia? I want this to be Kalia. It's so bad. Next turn, I don't think we Cauldron's Gift. We obviously could, but even if we do get a Lotleth Giant, it's not going to deal a whole bunch of damage, right? Although we could Cauldron's Gift a Plague Crafter back, but then they just sacrifice Seraph, and they'd be up 2 creatures on us. So it's kind of tough. I think Gorging Vulture just is the best thing to do next turn. Let's block, put a creature in our yard. What if opponent casts Defiant Strike or something here just to draw cards? Hey! Extra card's an extra card. You get the Defiant Strike back anyway. Like I said, I don't love our position here. But honestly, like, things could be... Angel Vitality. Things could be worse, though. They really could. We gotta not draw Lotleth Giants. I don't want to draw them. Imagine if that was just 1 card deeper. Cauldron's Gift could mill it, or Gorging Vulture could mill it. But oh well. Maybe we'll get one off of this Vulture. Alright. Well. Kind of wish we hadn't milled the Cauldron's Gift. And we got like a whole, what, 1 off of that? Yeah, we got 1 life. Oof. There's only 4 creatures in our yard for Troll. Let's make it 5. I'm going to have them discard a card. It's like, Steward could have been decent sack fodder for Fiend Artisan next turn, but again, I'm not sure like what exactly we could get aside from maybe Plague Crafter or another Artisan. That would be a play. Opponent doesn't have... Oh, nope. Go to attacks. Opponent doesn't have black mana to give Seraph of the Scales Death Touch, so we'll see what we can do here. I'm just going to block with Angel, which is fine. That's fine. What I'd like to do is get my opponent to a low enough life total to where Lotleth Giant will kill them, but that's going to be, like, slightly tough. Maybe they'll just leave up black mana to block with Seraph of the Scales and give it Death Touch. Pretty much every draw in our deck is live right now. Even land, because it gets us closer to Lotleth Giant. Doom Whisperer. Alright, maybe opponent will possibly surveil themselves to death. That would be very nice. I'm gonna Cauldron's Gift, yeah. Let's do it. Let's do that. Yay, Lotleth Giant. Maybe I should have swung first. Yeah, that might be our downfall here, is I didn't swing first. But that's still gonna dome them for 7. Put him at 7. Well, it puts him at 7. Excuse me. A dome for 6. And then if we draw a land next turn, we can just probably kill them with this Lotleth Giant. But let's try and get in with... did it again. Let's try and get in with Fiend Artisan. Is that right? If we have Fiend Artisan next turn... 6. We can go get a 5-drop. So we can go get an Obosh. I don't think that really does much. I honestly don't. It makes Gorging Vulture swing more, and it makes Lotleth Giant swing more, but I don't think it's enough. I'd rather just... Let's see if we don't draw a land. If we do draw a land next turn, we can just Lotleth Giant. Maybe not for the win, though. Alright, yeah, they will block with Seraph here. They'll double block. Interesting. I think I'll kill the Whisperer. This is a Kalia deck, by the way. That's a demon. Yeah, let's kill the Whisperer. Alright, so I'll take the trade, hoping that we draw a creature next turn. Or, not a creature, a land. If we don't draw a land, though, we draw something we can play, and I guess I'll take that, too. Opponent at 5. Bishop. Ugh, jeez. So we've got to close the gap. We got to do it before they start playing Angels. Unless they can play another Angel of Vitality, but they can't right now. They're out of cards. Aside from Defiant Strike. But that'll cost them the white mana it would cost them to cast an Angel, so... Let's put this Gorging Vulture in the yard. Defiant Strike. Yep. Only problem is now we don't know what this card is, but I'm not that concerned. Just draw the land. Usually when I have 6 lands, I'm not wanting to draw the land, but we did, so we can Giant Swang One Punch Man. Come on, just let it resolve. Just let it resolve. Nice! We'll give him a thanks and drill him. I'll give him a good game, too. Because it was a good game. This is a good game. Come on, just come on. Come on. Gonna give your Seraph of the Scales Death Touch. Alright, that's 2 in a row where we're actually able to win off of Lotleth Giant. After extending the game for a period, pretty nice stuff, so let's try one more. Alright, opponent goes first up here against Kishikino. Kishikino? I don't know how I'm not sure. But, I like Kishikino, so I'm going to do that. They got 2 Sphinx of Foresight. Uh-oh, I haven't seen you in a while since they banned Fires. So, what are you doing? I mean, maybe they're playing, like, top-end flyers instead of the normal Azorius flyers. Which I think could actually be a thing. You know, there's that new thing, Watcher of the Spires, I think it's called. But it decreases the casting cost of your flying creatures. And if you wanted to play that along with Warden of Evocide, you might not even have to play copies of Warden, but you just play that and it decreases the cost of like your Sphinxes and your Cavaliers of Gales and stuff. So like that could actually be a deck. Healer's Hawk coming down. Okay, it's Bant. Alright, what are we doing? What are we doing? Over there. I like it. I like playing against Spies. So let's Mire Triton. Get 1 creature in the yard. It's Black Lance Paragon. I'm going to make opponent discard here. I think it's more valuable in the yard. Traded for a Sphinx. I got 2. Whatever. I play Fabled Passage, so I'm going to be on 2 lands again this turn. What is your Bant thing that plays Healer's Hawk and Sphinx? Alright, so I got a Black Lance Paragon. Not a whole lot we can do aside from swing this turn. I guess we can just Paragon with Flash next turn. Maybe that'll matter. We'll see. Interesting deck. I like this island over here. I like that a lot. We'll pass. They'll get in. Things are pretty cordial at this stage in the game. Teferi. So I guess we'll go ahead and Black Lance Paragon. And they'll probably return that to our hand. Very likely. But at least we get to kill the Teferi. No matter what they bounce. Or if they don't bounce anything, we still get to kill the Teferi, so... Pretty sweet, Paragon. And our opponent is realizing this. Yep. Put that back in our handski. Draw something cool this turn. We haven't seen like a Timurid Calls yet. It's crazy. I might want to play Crafter away this Healer's Hawk. Maybe I damn do. Let's see. Let's get rid of Teferi. And Plague Crafter. Because, like, even if I wait on playing the Plague Crafter, they're still going to sacrifice Healer's Hawk. I mean, that's going to be the thing they sack. I'm just going to sack Plague Crafter. I think having a Death Touch creature is a little bit better right now. Probably just Sphinx this turn, and that just won't feel good, honestly. Hasn't been a great game for drawing things we like to draw. Here's another land. I guess we need them, though, right? We got 6 now, counting the 1 in our hand, so we'll eventually get to this Lotleth Giant. I'm just not sure we'll actually have cards in our hand. So let's swing in with Mire Triton. I doubt they'll trade. They don't. 18. They can put us at 16 this turn, though. They get a Scry. What does your deck do? Is it just like just play flyers in 3 colors? I still don't know what the green cards in your deck are. Alright, well, pass. Opponent swings. This is the most normal game of Magic I've played in a while, which is weird because the opponent's deck is different. Here comes Hushbringer. Oh, it's just like a Euro Hushbringer thing. Okay, okay. Okay, that's what your deck is. I'm pretty sure. And the next turn you play Euro and you get to keep it, right? That's... right? Okay, so we got enough lands for Lotleth Giant, but they only do 3 apiece. It's just not great. Well, let's swing. See if our opponent blocks with Hushbringer. If they don't, that's a tell they might have a Euro. But if they had one, they probably would have like played it. Right? So, well, we'll go to 12 next turn. 1, 10, 9. We could go to 8. We could go to 8 and draw a card off of Castle Lochthwain. But that's probably not worth it. No, because we know we're going to be able to play a Giant next turn. Unless they can counter it. Maybe opponent has Absorb or something. And at this point, that would be like a great plan for them. Just hold up Absorb for the rest of the game. Because they can race us for the win here. Here's a Cavalier of Thorns. Neat. Very neat. Bant mid-range. Like Bant big stuff, I guess. A couple of Brazen Borrowers, a Tameo. You're just like randomly playing Healer's Hawk in your deck. That could probably be a different card. Hushbringer comes down. Neat. That means that Lotleth Giant is useless. And so is Gorging Vulture for that matter. What if? What if, right? What if we got in? Oh, they did it. Okay, sweet. Awesome. Opponent blocks with Hushbringer, and we will Lotleth Giant. Neat. Oh, that's pretty sexy right there. Opponent down to 13. That was only a 5-point fireball, which really didn't even up the game the way I wanted it to. But I guess I can trade with Cavalier here. They'll get a card back. Probably a Hushbringer. It's like, okay, I've learned my lesson. Swing in and pop us. All mad-like. Here comes another Sphinx. Yikes, we're at 8. We can't do that. Here's another land. Can we not be done with lands? The actual play here is to play Gorging Vulture this turn. Just so you know, so we have a blocker. Also gain a little bit of life. We got 1 life. My God. Ah, boy. Oh, boy. If opponent can remove Gorging Vulture, at least we stay alive, even if they can remove Gorging Vulture. So, but they're almost guaranteed to get a card they like because they get to scry twice here. 1 top. Uh-oh. SpaghettiOs. What do you got? What do you got in? So much suspense. Suspense. Oh, a Tameo. Ugh, gross. Gross. Well, they're going to get Hushbringer back, maybe? Maybe they don't get Hushbringer. They just get something better they can play this turn. But Hushbringer would be the worst thing to my mind. Oh, it's a Teferi. Oh, it's a Teferi. Oh, okay, I'll play it. And then bounce the Vulture so it can't block. And put us at 1. Is what you do here. And then you swing in. We have to block with Giant. I guess that puts another creature in our yard, you know. What can we do? There's no way, right? There's just no way to win this game. I don't think. We could always Vulture and hope that we hit 4 creatures. That might be like our only hope. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Oh, it's a Brazen Borrower, so we'll definitely not have a blocker next turn. Guaranteed to not have a blocker next turn. That's fun. So that's our game this time. We'll get another one in. Because we were bound to lose one eventually, right? Especially against a deck like this. But this deck is not your average Bant deck. Let's just put it that way. 8 mana. We could always Fiend Artisan. That does nothing, right? So let's just Lotleth and take our 7 damage. Tell our opponent good game like we're about to win, but we know they're winning here. The opponent at 6. And we almost did it. We almost sort of did it there. But I'll take 2 and 1 so far. Let's try and go 3 and 1. Or maybe we'll go 2 and 2 to even it up. That would suck. But I want 3 and 1 here. Alright, so opponent goes first. up here again. Up here against OG Kang. I like the name. And hand's looking okay. We keep starting with Lotleth Giants in our hand. That is terrible. We haven't seen a Timber Calls the Dead like at all. At all. 3 games. I have not played one yet. So that's a little bit dumb. But let's see how this game plays out here. We got a decent curve. Plague Crafter if we need it, which we will. Yeah, opponent on green-red here. So let's play Mire Triton, mill a couple. I got this Fiend Artisan cocked and loaded for later. I like that. Opponent's like, Steward, what? Which we milled into our yard. What you got this turn? I think a Death Toucher might actually be really good in this matchup. Maybe we will Vulture next turn. Stock our yard for the Fiend Artisan. I doubt it, though. Yeah, Great Horn, so we like have to play Crafter. We absolutely must. Before things get out of hand. Green, red, mutate. Got some Porky Parrot shenanigans going on. We draw another land. I guess Arena knows that we have a Lotleth Giant in our hand, so it wants us to draw lands. Thanks, I guess. I'm going to keep my Death Toucher. Which tends to be at least decent against Mutate, but a lot of times Mutate doesn't actually have to attack. They just wait until they get Sterix mutated onto a creature that's already mutated twice, and then they can start attacking with all of those guys. So. But this turn we'll probably take the Gorging Vulture route. Then we'll have Fiend Artisan just ready to be big. Bone Crusher the Mire Triton, that's fine. A lot of ramp in this deck with between. I mean, they have to play Paradise Druid, but they also have Carriated. Cool. Well, we can use all our mana this turn, and I'm happy about that. Let's Gorging Vulture. Land Timuret. You get 1 life off of that. Liliana's Steward. The deck has that problem. You see, we have to play 24 lands. I wish we didn't mill so many lands when we milled, but we have to play 24 lands at least because we have Cauldron's Gift, the 5-mana thing. We have to be able to naturally play Lotleth Giant if it comes down to it. We have to be able to activate Fiend Artisan for a large amount if it comes down to it. So the deck is hungry for lands. It needs them. So 24 is, you know, basically a necessity, but that leads to you milling more lands than you really want to. I think the deck plays 28 creatures in all. And I'd really like to pump that up to 30, but just haven't been able to do it. Ram through, interesting, on the Steward. They don't want to discard a card, which might mean they have Cleave. And I don't want this to be the Ember Cleveland show anytime soon, but it might have to be. Let's not attack. Why not? We got nothing to gain. Actually, we do have something to gain, and that's making Lotleth Giant have to hit for less. So maybe we should have swung there. Especially, they're not going to cleave this turn. They don't have the mana to anymore. We have a big Fiend Artisan to block. They are attacking, though. Are you? No, they're not. Okay. They backed off of it. Unless they have a giant growth, I don't see why they would attack. Incubation Druid comes down. We get another Steward. I'm going to make them discard a card with this Steward, but maybe. That's 4/5. We can go get... There's no 4-drops in the deck. That's another kind of naked point. There's a 4-drop Death Touch 3/3 that mills 3 cards when it ETBs, and that might actually be worth considering. It'd be really good in this situation, actually. But if we... I guess we could go and get a Plague Crafter. Sacrifice the Steward, get a Plague Crafter. They just drop the Elysian Carriated, so that's probably not good enough. I'm going to Steward them. They can drop a piece. It's a land. Then I'll Steward again. I can still go get a Plague Crafter. Or a Mire Triton. I will actually go get a Mire Triton. I'll do it. I don't know if I want to tap this Fiend Artisan. I could just go get another Fiend Artisan. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's try to just win off of big dudes here. We need 2 more lands to get to this giant. Ooh, a Krenko. Ooh. Krinko is a good magic card, if I've ever seen one. 2 Artisans does do a lot of work, though. That does so much work. They can't, like, Domri's Ambush any of these to death. Which, maybe that's their last card. I wonder if it is. It's Gorging Vulture. We put a Giant in the yard, which is something, I guess. Right calls. Alright, so Cauldron's Gift is... There's still 4 Cauldron's Gift in these 35 cards somewhere. So should we wait? Opponent at 18. I can probably start attacking with this Gorging Vulture. Put some pressure on them. I think that might be the way to do it, is just attack with the Vultures. Put pressure on. Alright. That sucks, because they're going to get a whole bunch of tokens this turn. If they decide to swing in, and they probably will. Cauldron's Gift would be really nice. That would be very nice next turn. Matter of fact. Another Giant. Good lord. Well, they're still not attacking, and that's probably good. So again, let's put them at 12. Giant is the only dead draw in the deck right now. Oh yeah, it has reach. Ah, you just saw a massive misplay by your boy. But that's okay, actually. That is okay. That's okay. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's okay. You gonna swing? You gonna do it? You gonna get all them tokens? Yep, okay. Is that all you're coming with? I wonder if they have, like, Collision Colossus, which wouldn't save their guy, but you'd think they would have cast it before combat to get a bajillion tokens. Alright, pass. What you got? P. Diddles. What is that last card in your hand? Alright, our turn. Let's go down to 19 and draw a card. Let's do it. It's a land, and that's a Timurid Calls, so we finally get Timurid Calls to dead, which I will totally take. All day long. Cauldron's Gift. Bravo. Bravo, deck. We haven't actually Cauldron's Gifted a Lotleth Giant out of the yard yet, which is very funny. There's a lot of comedic value in that. You don't have any reach creatures now, do you? Do you, buddy? No. Alright, so let's get in. Put them at 12, which means that if they don't play a flying or reach creature next turn and we draw a land, then we can get in with Gorging Vulture, hit him for 2, put him at 10, and then kill them with a Lotleth Giant, which would be ideal. There's no guarantee we draw a land, though. 2, 3, 4, 5 lands in our yard. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Still half of our lands in our deck, and we got half of our deck over here. Oh, well, zip, zop, zip. Well, this mutated Anguirus, I say Anguirus, it's Gem Razor, onto a P. Diddle here. Got rid of our Timurid Calls, which isn't great, but we got the land. We got the land, but they do have a reach creature here. So all we really have to do is swing in with all of our guys. Actually, that wouldn't work either. Unless they, like, triple block a Fiend Artisan. Which they may do, right? They might do that. I'm just going to play Giant and not win. I'm just going to do that. And then next turn we can play Giant and win. I mean, I highly doubt that they'll kill us this turn. But, you know, famous last words. But at this point, even an Embercleave can't beat one of these Fiend Artisans. So, I think we got it. Shifting Sarah. Michael Ceratops. Which doesn't win or anything. I mean, they're going to give it haste and try to swing in. with everything and see what they can do here. But does that win? I mean, does it win to swing in with everything right now? I guess we'll find out, won't we? Alright, biggest stuff first. Let's block that. Let's block you. Let's block you. Well, let's block the big guy with trample. Let's block you. And let's block you. So yeah, I think we're good here. Bop, 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 beep, bop, boop, bop, beep, boop, bop. It's a lot of beeps and boops. Let's good game our opponent. We could Cauldron's Gift. I think I'll Cauldron's Gift here. Oh, come on, man. We got it. We did it, guys. We did it. It's over one way or the other. I just really wanted to win off of Gift there. But, like, it doesn't really matter. There's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. There were multiple ways we could have won that. You could have swung in and won. But, yeah, Lotleth Giant, everybody. Lotleth Giant wins 3 out of 4 there. And looked pretty dang good. We didn't even have to actually, reanimate Lotleth Giant with Cauldron's Gift even once, in case you wanted to read this card, because you never got a chance to. Here's Cauldron's Gift, right? We're guaranteed to get the adamant on it. We're always going to be able to, reanimate a Lotleth Giant for way less than it costs. We're going to be able to mill stuff before we Lotleth Giant. One interaction I didn't get to talk about, by the way, and that did not come up in these games, but I was actually really excited about talking about, so I'm going to put it here at the end. I'm still very excited about this deck, if you can't tell. But usually with Timurit Calls the Dead, when it gets to its 3rd chapter, let me take these off. But when Timurit Calls the Dead gets to its 3rd chapter, you've already drawn your card for the turn, so the scry feels weird, right? You scry something on top of your library, but you won't draw it till next turn, so it feels kind of dumb. But with Cauldron's Gift, you can actually use that last scry from Timurit Calls the Dead, right? Because you can put a creature that you want to reanimate on top of your library, and then when it comes around to your main phase, use Cauldron's Gift to mill that thing into your graveyard and then reanimate it. So that comes up every now and again, and it's one way to make the 3rd chapter of Timurit Calls the Dead like not so awkward sometimes. So I like that. But I mean, we demonstrated in these games that against some decks, even some aggro decks like that Gruul deck and a couple of others, that we can just like stay in the game until it's time to just play a Lotleth Giant out of our hand. Like in a lot of games, we started the game with Lotleth Giant and ultimately ended up playing it. It's because of these Death Touch creatures like Paragon, or at least it has Death Touch when we first play it. Mire Triton does a lot of work with Death Touch, but they also gain life. Both of these cards also gain life. Along with Gorging Vulture, Timurit Calls the Dead eventually gains life. So like all the life gain really helps keep you in the game to a point where you can actually just naturally cast Giant. And I'm not saying the deck is amazing or anything, but the deck is really fun to play. And there's other stuff you could do in here. Like, obviously, you could do Creeping Chill. But I just wanted to, again, kind of address this in the games. Keep the creature count as high as possible. So I wouldn't add Creeping Chill. Because, again, we need as many creatures as we can to, proc Lotleth Giant when we finally play it. But you could just take out Lotleth Giant and play Creeping Chill. Like, that's a possibility, too, because our deck will just aggro them to death a lot of games. So if you wanted a more aggro variant of this, you'd probably just take out Lotleth Giant, even Obosh, because it's kind of awkward playing Obosh when we really don't have that many things that are, odd mana cost. The only reason it's in the deck is Lotleth. That's it. It can increase the damage from a flying Gorging Vulture or Plaguecraft or even a Liliana Steward, but that very rarely comes up. And Obosh wasn't necessary in any of these games, so you could take this card out. Fiend Artisan, kind of necessary to brick wall some of our opponents in these games. But again, you might be able to tell that Fiend Artisan isn't absolutely necessary. So if you wanted to save yourself like $50 on a playset of Fiend Artisan, you don't have to play that. You don't necessarily have to play this card. And if you don't play Fiend Artisan, I'm pretty sure the deck is like $25. I don't even think it's that much. Although if you subbed in Priest of Forgotten Gods, I think it's like $35 or $40, which is still relatively budget. Even with Fiend Artisan, the deck is like $75 or less. So really, any way you go here, it's a fairly budget, friendly deck, and it's really fun, fairly competitive, and all that. So, give the deck a shot, and let me know how you would build it down there in the comments section. Anything I didn't touch on, because I touched on a lot. Like anything I didn't touch on, make sure you let me know down there. Any tech you might know for this deck, because I think there's something there in this package. I'm just not sure this is exactly like the correct build. So, let me know any ideas that you have, and then obviously, if you want to check out the deck list in the description. If you want to order it, you can just hit that link, go to TCG Player. Order stuff from that link. You're helping your dude out. But if you want to help your dude out in a non-monetary way, you can like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, do all the stuff. We do gameplay, deck techs, all kinds of stuff. So sub if you haven't done that yet. And then finally, if you want to, hit up the Patreon, link in the description. $1 a month is all I ask, just $1 US a month. And that'll let you vote on content that we do around here. I've got a Deck Tech poll up literally right now for the next 1 hour. It's going to be up. But yeah, in any case, by the time this video is out, it won't still be up. But still, if you want to participate in polls, do the Patreon thing, $1 a month, that's it. But aside from that, I'm done. I'm probably going to stick around, play with this deck for a little while longer. I could probably just record that, but I'm not. So I actually have things to do today that I should be doing, but I always play Magic rather than do the things I'm supposed to do. That's my whole life. But in any case, I guess it's good that some of the things I'm supposed to do include playing Magic. That's good. But in any case, I'm done. I'm rambling. I'm just really excited about it. I like this deck a lot. So give it a shot if you can. But I guess I'm done. I'll catch you cats later. I'm Deb from The Place. Thanks for watching, my wizards. Spread love and be kind.